Welcome to our video solutions for sample exercises from 9.1. If you haven't yet read section 9.1, now's a good time to hit pause and go back and read that section so that you can be really well prepared to understand these sample solutions and also to do the exercises yourself. I want to begin by doing 9.1e, which is on page 410. And for this exercise, all we're trying to do is test to see whether the set of sentences is consistent. And the set of sentences begins with this one. It's not the case that for all x, if f of x, then gx, and that's a set member. And then we have, it's not the case that there is an x, f of x, and that's a set member. And then we have, it's not the case that there is an x, g of x, and that's a set member. Now, when we look at the sentences that we have, we notice that we have negated quantifiers on every line. So the first thing to do is just to get rid of those negations so that we can figure out what we really have. And we might as well just proceed in order here since they're all negated. So the first one we're going to do is line 1. So it's going to become, there is an x. It's not the case that fx then gx, and that comes from 1 by negated universal decomposition. Then from line 2, we're going to have for all x, it's not the case that f of x, and that's going to be from 2 by negated existential. And then line 6 is going to be for all x, it's not the case that gx, and that's going to come from 3 by negated existential. So now when we evaluate our tree, since we've checked off lines 1, 2, and 3 as we've used our negated quantifier rules, what we notice is that we have one existentially quantified sentence here on line 4 and 2 universally quantified sentences. So we're going to follow our customary practice of decomposing the existentially quantified sentence first. So we're going to write down not f of a horseshoe g of a, and that comes from 4 by existential decomposition. And at this point, there's a number of different things we can do. We could immediately turn to instantiating the universally quantified sentences on numbers 5 and 6 here. But since this sentence on line 7 isn't going to cause our tree to branch, and since we can anticipate that it's going to result in having fa and the negation of ga, it's sort of a good idea to do this first. It might save us a few steps, or a couple of steps. So all we're going to do here now is just decompose number 7 using the negated conditional rule, which tells us to write down the antecedent and the negation of the consequent. So 8 comes from 7 by negated conditional, and 9 comes from 7 by negated conditional. And now when we evaluate our tree, we have sentences on lines 5, 6, 8, and 9 that are not decomposed, but 8 and 9 can't be decomposed any further. But we notice something important here. We have fa on line 8, but 5 says that for all x, it's not the case that fx. Since for any x, it's not the case that f of x, then what I can write down here on line number 10 is it's not the case that f of a. And I can instantiate to a because line number 5 is a universally quantified sentence. So line number 10 comes from 5 by universal decomposition. But now I have a contradiction. I have f of a and not f of a, so the tree closes. So the original set that I began with, which is made up of these 3 sentences, is not consistent.